Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Oracle IAM Insights session today. My name is Sandeep Banerjee, Vice President of Product Development for Platform and Infrastructure Services, including Identity Management. I'll use the session today to replay a conversation I recently had with a panel of security and identity management practitioners at Oracle's Identity and Access Management Customer Advisory Board. The panelists shared their perspectives on how companies are leveraging Oracle's IAM portfolio and the IAM Upgrade Factory to modernize their security and identity solutions. So without further ado, let me take you back in time to May 6, 2021, to our Customer Advisory Board panel discussion titled Upgrade Factory and Modernization Journeys, Practitioners' Perspectives. To tie in the context of how we plan to run this panel today, over the last 3 days, you did hear about the product directions, you did hear about enhancements that have been done to our existing products, the release of the containers. We had a very lively, nice conversation today as well as yesterday on containers, microservices, as well as we have seen from what we heard from Yepe, Matt and Darren about things that are happening with IDCS. You heard Brian talk about the future with our governance product in the cloud. Now, all this is obviously a lot of things that are being provided to you as information, but when you start looking at how do you internalize this, and all of you are existing customers of a combination of our products today, so how do you take this on in a logical manner that makes sense to you? And in fact, when we were having the containerization topic, the last one, there were a lot of good questions that were coming through on chat to say that, yes, we'd like to do this, but how to? And this how to aspect of it is something that we would like to make it as simple as possible for you. And our systems integrators, and especially the ones that are on the panel today, and a couple of others who have not been able to get on the panel, at least for today's session, they have been a critical part of this overall journey with us for the last year and a half or so. So we've been working closely from an engineering standpoint on a bi-weekly basis, for that matter, with these partners to make sure that the approaches that we are taking are appropriate from a solutioning standpoint, just not from a product standpoint, but solutioning standpoint as to how they can be implemented quickly for our customers, as well as their perspectives of how they can internalize all of this information to enhance their own methodologies and offerings. So it's been a very, very healthy relationship with these partners over the last 18 months or so to improve our products, to start releasing these functionalities that we are talking about, which eventually we do hope that it'll help our customers such as yourself if you're looking to work with the partner, or regardless, like you heard in case of the story from HNI. Several customers may choose to do it with their own internal IT department, and rightfully so. We do have all the resources for them to do it correctly. So on that note, let's start moving forward. You have seen this slide multiple times. I do want to emphasize that the link at the bottom of the slide, which we have shared multiple times in the chat yesterday, will have the details of all of the green boxes that you see in the factory resources box on the left-hand side. And to remind you, we saw a repeated set of questions in the chat, even in the previous session, that if you're looking to move from your existing version of especially 11.123 to 12CPS4, and then looking to deploy it on premises or in the cloud or in a mix and match fashion that fits your needs, these are the same set of factory resources that you would put to use over there with specific step-by-step instructions, tools, and utilities. In addition to that, you would have heard Edward mentioning that we do plan to utilize the same approach for your organizations to take on the containers, to take on the microservices as additions to your environment. And we will take the similar approach of providing the guides, tools, and utilities to be doing that with a support structure behind it. So how are partners participating in all of this? What are they seeing from their perspectives as they are helping their customers take on these enhancements or take on these new capabilities that we have talked about over the last 2 days or 3 days? Let's dive right into that. So we do have, when we say the notable partners on this topic, I don't think any of these companies over here need an introduction in the identity and access management space. But specific individuals that you see on the list over here, we would ask them to introduce themselves and what their companies are doing in this area briefly before we get into the question answer. So why don't we start in the same order as we see the pictures over here? Kishan, if you're on, if you want to start first.
Hi, thanks, Sandeep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Kishan. I hope everyone is safe and healthy given the current pandemic situation. I'm employed with Accenture. I lead the North America Digital Identity MSS practice. I've been an Oracle practitioner from Thor and Oblix days, basically doing Oracle Identity and Access Management for 2+ decades.
Kashif, if you want to go next.
Yes, thank you so much, Sandeep, and very excited to be here. Thank you for Oracle team to recognize us as the select partner. And my name is Kashif Datwani. I serve as a Chief Security Architect for Bias Corporation. Bias is a cross-tech Oracle implementation partner, and my practice, the practice I lead, security practice, responsibility is to deliver solutions around identity and access management, cloud security, and data security. Very excited to be here, and looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashif. Saurabh, if you want to go next.
Sure. Thanks, Sandeep. Hi, everyone. I'm Saurabh Sharma. I'm a managing principal with Capstone Technologies. Capstone's been partnering with Oracle for close to 10+ years now. I myself have been in the security space for 15 years, helping customers with their IAM journey. As Peter said, know a lot of customers here, know a lot of partners here. So excited to be a part of this panel and share our insights on this. Thank you.
Great, Saurabh. And you were certainly spoken very well of in our session with MMC. So kudos to you and your team on that one. Trevor, if you want to go next.
Sure, I'm Trevor Rosquich. I lead the DevOps practice for Simeo Solutions. I've been in the identity and access management space for over 20 years, and I've worked for a number of different product vendors and have dealt with a number of product stacks, and have been trying to shoehorn IAM technologies into DevOps models for 8 to 9 years already. So thanks for having us participate, and looking forward to sharing some insights with the group.
Fantastic, Trevor. And Don, last but not the least, if you want to go.
My name is Don Dietz. I'm the consulting practice director for Oracle. So we have the ability to work with all the partners that are here. We not only partner with them, but a lot of times with customers, we share the opportunity to be more of the senior architect on these engagements, as they're the SI integrator. So that's one of the good opportunities that we have, is we get to partner with all of the other SI integrators as well.
Thank you, Don. And so this is how we'll structure the next part of our discussion. I'll pose a few questions to each of them, and this will relate to several things that you heard over the last 3 days. My suggestion would be that if you can take a listen to these questions, and towards the back end of this conversation, if the CAB members have other questions to ask of generally across the panelists over here, or to specific individuals over here, please feel free to raise them. because some of the questions may be answered as we go through the already pre-selected list of questions. So let's start with this. And this is an alignment question that I'd like to, perhaps, poise to bias Deloitte, Capstone, and our Oracle Consulting to Dawn. That we heard several things today or over the last 3 days. In your opinion, based on the customers that you're already engaged with, how well is the alignment of what you heard with what your customers are looking for from a modernization goal standpoint? Now, you could talk to it from a standpoint of features and functionality that you heard, or the architectural changes that we have discussed, the various deployment models that we support. There are changes, related to performance and manageability that was talked about. And of course, these have implications on the ownership experience and cost of ownership kind of thing. So if we go around the room, let me make the pick over here. So, let's start with bias. Let's start with Kashif, if you would want to share some perspectives on these topics.
Absolutely, Sandeep. So, what we are seeing with our customers is, and I'm going to start with a little bit about the feature functionality. I think we are talking mostly in the context of this upgrade factory program, and related to this, what our customers are looking for as Bias does the implementation, cross-stack implementations. We come across the customers who are trying to migrate and modernize their platform to adopt more cloud approach, right? And either lifting and shifting the major ERP solutions or major application sets into the cloud. As part of that, they look for Oracle's IDM solution also to be either migrated or modernized in some way. What we have seen is that these programs over the last 1 year or 1.5 years, the focus on the whole upgrade program has made it a little bit easier and has given capability to take those workloads into the cloud. And we have had customers successfully migrate their workloads, not only for the ERP applications, but also the IAM process. And as part of that, what we also saw is that we were able to not only migrate them in their current form, but we were also able to upgrade them to their latest release. And we are talking about hundreds of thousands of identities in this, and external and internal user bases. What we saw is that from feature functionality perspective, that it really helped to have those upgrade factory type programs and frameworks available, which assisted us to migrate them. From the deployment perspective, it was also essential for us to have a capability to have a more streamlined hybrid deployments for these customers. So as they migrate and they take their part of their workloads or access into the cloud, they still were looking for hybrid approach to leave the governance on premise or in that environment. So that's something which we saw, these products and these offerings and these frameworks offered us so that we can take them into that. So those success stories are only the results of having these modernized capabilities into the product.
Thank you, Kashif. Saurabh, if I may ask you to comment on this, given that we saw an example of the likes of the project of MMC from your organization, what more would you want to add on this topic from your standpoint?
Sure, Sandeep. So, see, one thing is given in today's world with the evolving IT landscape, everyone is moving to the cloud. So when we talk about IAM modernization goals for our customers, trying to be as close to cloud native as possible is definitely there, right? And if you put that in the perspective of how Oracle has evolved in their product direction, I think two things that stand out are the architecture and the deployment models available. And what's that really giving to the customers is the flexibility to modernize at their own pace. So I'll give you an example. So there are many customers who are trying to move their single sign-on stacks to the cloud and be completely cloud native. So I've had customers where in a matter of 3 to 4 months, you could completely be fully cloud native with the IDCS piece, right? And I've also had customers where they have complex deployments with their single sign-on, with concurrent users and different kinds of methodologies of managing sessions, where they wanted to run in a hybrid model for 8 to 12 months before they finally completely migrate to the cloud. So the flexibility you get, and this flexibility you're getting because from an Oracle product direction, whether it's the microservices approach or the complete cloud native approach, it lets the customer grow at their own pace in terms of their modernization initiatives. The second important aspect I'm seeing across all customers is DevOps automation, right? When they are looking at their IAM modernization, because governance is not simple, inherently, especially for enterprise customers, when you have 70, 80,000 employees, you have complex governance workflows. And what you really need to do is to be able to maintain multiple environments and standardize them. And a huge advantage that Oracle has, right, is the fact that not only do we have a lot of investment made into our Oracle IAM products, there's also a lot of investment in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, the OCI. So I see a lot of governance customers being able to leverage the IAM stack along with the OCI advancements that have been made to do DevOps automation, to scale in, scale out, to easily replicate environments. And that's where I believe the synergies are working really well for our customers.
Great, great. Don, anything from your side as to what you're seeing from the various engagements?
Well, I guess I got kind of a little bit better advantage than some of the others because I get to work directly with support. I get to work with your team. So, we get to participate more so in bringing issues and problems that customers face to your attention. So we get that front seat a little bit more so because we're more involved from a company perspective. But I think the key here is what we're seeing is that we're seeing customers who have never used our products, who they're doing ERP or they're moving their service bus to the cloud, and they want simpler solutions. And one of the things that we didn't talk about is we have an IDCS adapter for for enterprise service bus. It makes it so much easier for a customer to provide a single sign-on solution because these products are simplified. They're easier to use. And this has been sort of the message that, we've been bringing inside of Oracle is, customers find upgrades difficult. And you and I have had this discussion probably a million times of, they're tired of how difficult it is to upgrade. And I think this whole migration strategy and this whole idea about, the microservices, making it faster, making it easier for them to upgrade. I think this is the key that customers have been waiting to hear.
Great, Don. Thank you again for all the comments on that one. I'm seeing some questions trickling in, but we'll get to them towards the end. Why don't we move on to the next question? That there are. You spoke to some of the examples of how customers are utilizing these, but let's take a few specific enhancement-related examples of the likes of connectors that were talked about, or the likes of Stack Patch Bundle and one-hop upgrade related automation that was talked about over the last 3 days. So if we can just go around the room and see, and maybe I'll just mix up the sequence to someone I've not asked before. Kishan, if you want to make some comments on this aspect of how product enhancements are being utilized.
Sure, Sandeep. Thank you. So I'm going to talk about one of our clients who is a major client. We are helping to do an upgrade for them from 11G to 12CPS4. During the process of the journey, we discovered that there are several connectors that the client has to upgrade in preparation to be compliant with the 12CPS4 requirements. When we did a discovery working with the Oracle Puma team, we found that we may have to upgrade about 40 to 50 connectors within a short span of time so we can meet our deadlines for the end goal. During this process, we identified some of the complex connectors like RACF, ACF2, and other medium or simple complex ones like Active Directory. We deployed about 49 connectors over 5 weekends in a span of 4 to 5 months. And this is for a client where we had about 70,000 employees and millions of external customers. So this definitely was possible with the application onboarding that the new connector architecture brings to the table. That helped us rapidly onboard, and we are on track to our 12CPS4 end goal.
Well, that's awesome, Kishan, and we have certainly heard of this story, and we can't wait for this story to become more public. Of course, our CAB members on the call hear about it, but we'll look forward to working with you to make this information more, aware, so that people can understand that things are happening at that kind of speed and simplicity.
Sure.
Sort of from your standpoint, I know you touched on this, but do you want to expand on a few other ideas that you have seen, perhaps related to the bundle patches and the stack patch bundle?
Sure, absolutely, Sandeep. So, when we talk about benefits that customers get from this different things that Oracle has done, it takes me back to my business school days, and it brings back the example of the Maslow's hierarchy that we used to talk about. And the reason I say that is every customer first starts with the basic. I want to be secure and supported, and I want this to happen quickly and efficiently. Then the customer starts talking about number two is about how do I leverage new features so I can run better. And once you get to that stage, then I have customers that are talking about, okay, now all of this is done. How do I plan for the future so I can get to a much better state and be smarter about it? So in terms of being secure and supported, I think the one-hop upgrade has been a huge help. We have so many customers that have been on 11G versions, and for them to move to 12C in place, the one-hop upgrade has helped. We have spoken of this example in the CAB as well, where a customer with 70,000 plus employees was able to upgrade in 12 weeks. That's because all the small nitty-gritties that have been brought in, whether it's about how do I import and export workflows, how do I do a one-hop upgrade, all those things have added to make the upgrades a lot rapid and deterministic. So that's been a major help in keeping the lights on for customers. When you talk about leveraging new features, I think certification features have been a big positive for many of our customers, because increasingly, especially now in the post-COVID world, everyone is remote. IAM is more and more critical, and you need to make sure that you are providing access as required. So certifications become very important for our customers, and all the new features that Oracle has launched in 12C onwards have been helpful there. And then the third thing, and one of the panelists earlier also touched on this, which was app onboarding. And this is where what Oracle is doing along with what we have done as Capstone in terms of our specific product-based enhancements. We have a customer today, Sandeep, where they are looking at onboarding as many as 15 applications every month onto the Oracle platform. And all of this has been made possible because of the confidence that they have gained in the Oracle product over the period of doing the upgrade. Once you upgrade in a rapid deterministic manner, once you start leveraging new features like app onboarding and certification, it wins people internally on the need to put more on the platform. And that's what we are seeing, greater adoption, where as many as 15 applications every month will be onboarded for this customer on the Oracle platform. So, yeah.
Well, very well said. In fact, we have to win the confidence of customers such as on the call, as well as the others, to say that, yes, you have invested in something and we are here to keep your back and protect your back and make sure that you're able to take these things quickly. Don, anything to add on this topic from your perspective?
I think that as customers move to the cloud on some of the more legacy type systems, we've found we have a customer that uses Virtual Directory and they use OID. And because OID doesn't support Virtual Directory moving forward, we've been able to give them a roadmap to go to OUD. And the virtualization now is part of OUD. So it really simplifies that solution because now they don't require a database. So it makes it simpler in the cloud to deploy that OUD versus the OID. So this is one example where the customer is real excited about the fact that we're simplifying their environment. It's going to make it much easier for them to manage that solution going forward. They're a government entity, so they have a lot of challenges because they've had to use cloning. They've had to use the migration strategy simply because they're changing operating systems. They're going from a Solaris environment to a Linux environment. So it's not an easy one-hop solution for them. So providing that migration strategy and giving them an opportunity to show them how we can move them has been a great help, especially with the tools that we have out there.
Great, Don. Thank you on that. Shifting gears to talking about containers and microservices and IDCS a little more. Most of you have been involved in this, and in fact, some of you have been our early adopters for the containers and microservices, testing it within your labs, running it as POCs for your customers. Can you share your thoughts and experiences on those journeys? And maybe I would start with Trevor. He has had the advantage of staying quite the longest. And Trevor has been working quite a bit on the containers with us. So why don't you go ahead, Trevor?
Sure, thanks, Sandeep. So as Simio, we're the first Oracle partner to embrace the IAM containerization model to the point where it is our de facto standard that we are basing all of our managed services and some of our product offerings for customers, such as Quick Start and Rapid App Onboarding. Part of that model too is that we're putting all of that on OCI so we can have the Oracle on Oracle benefits in terms of performance, support, as well as the licensing advantages that we have using that cloud platform. We see the container and microservices to be models to be the significant advancements in the product roadmaps. For those of us doing IAM and DevOps for a long time, there's been a lot of care and feeding and adapting products to what weren't necessarily designed to run in those models to find ways to get them to run in those type of deployment patterns. So we're seeing the trend for most vendors now are at least thinking about it or have some type of offering and are reworking their products to be more cloud native and DevOps friendly, such as we're seeing with the OAA and Radius microservices that we've been presented here during the CAB. So that's a fantastic move. So. For what we see overall so far with the current state of containers is that it's a great initial start. All of the design is following DevOps better practices in terms of the Kubernetes operator model and the architecture. The advantages of having the patch containers is great, and the fact that it makes patching simpler and allows for rolling upgrades and that kind of thing. And the documentation has been really good to get things going, and the enterprise deployment guide and whatnot is just bringing some more improvements to that. I think the only other thing right now is that there's a lot of manual steps still remaining to end in the operation and the setup of this, as well as some other things like large Docker image sizes and that kind of thing. So there's a good amount to automate up front if you want it to be sort of a lower touch type of deployment, but that's to be expected with sort of the background and the architecture of the product from its legacy, right? So things will be, I think, improving down the road as we continue to work together to have sort of the DevOps features enhanced.
Great, Trevor. Thank you again. And true to the comment that we've been working very closely with Simio on this, and the other partners on the panel are also ramping up on this very quickly. So we really hope that soon, maybe in our next CAB, I would take the liberty of saying that instead of having our partners talk about this, we would like to see 10 of our customers in the same panel talking about it as to how successfully they have gone through this journey. Let me take this question to Kashif. Kashif, you'll have spent a lot of time with customers taking on IDCS. I know several of you have done that, but would you want to make some comments about IDCS? And I know we have been in deep conversations about the use of the Radius agent in some of your customers. So could you throw some light on that?
Absolutely sure, Sandeep. Yeah, so several of our customers, Bias manages their workloads across the databases primarily, and as well as the other technology stack. But what we saw is that many of our customers have adopted over the years the technologies such as enterprise user security, and more recently centrally managed users, which provides a centralized authentication to the databases, right? What we saw is that as the customers are adopting new versions of these databases and they have mix and match environments, what the problem they were seeing is that you have to have, as they move towards 19C, and many of them don't do this rapidly. If you have 1,000+ databases, it will take time to migrate all your workloads and databases into the new releases. The challenge they were running into mostly is that how to manage EUS and CMU combination. And as in this discussion also over the last couple of days, we talked about that there is a specific requirements around Active Directory, how to deploy some filters there, and some technical requirements and prerequisites are there. So with the availability of IDCS, and as the customers started to adopt IDCS for their single sign-on and for their authentication needs and multi-filter authentication needs, we also saw that the availability of this Radius proxy service was a big advantage to them. And so we started to work with the customers to see if we can take them to this model where we provide them complete integration of their current systems into the IDCS. So taking their databases and integrating with the Radius. The Radius support has been available in database for years. It is just the availability of the Radius proxy service. And so some of our customers adopted this very successfully. This is a one-to-one mapping from the agent with one proxy. You can connect using the IDCS and then implement all your IDCS functionalities also. So if the user identity for that application does require, for example, to have the multi-factor or SMS or any other type of factor, we saw that customers started to adopt that. It was an ease of implementation, ease of management, and leveraging the latest standards. Again, from the security perspective, it made sense also because, we talked about insider threats all the time, and people are always, from the compliance perspective also, they would like to make sure that, databases are secured and accessed in the most secure manner. So we saw this functionality giving a lot of support for that. So several of our customers have adopted it. And then in addition to that, they have actually adopted the PAM support from the Linux as well, which was integrated with IDCS to give them access to their larger Linux environments also with the multi-factor authentication. So the Radius support has been a great feature, as well as adoption has been easy, as well as we have seen a great adoption by customers on this. So thank you.
Excellent, Kashif. Thank you. I think that was very well captured in the way that you summarized it. Don, something from your side with, say, role intelligence or things that you're seeing with advanced authentication?
We're seeing a lot of the financial customers who are still on OIA. And I think they're really excited about the fact that, we finally have a way for them to get off of 10G. It's a long path for them, and it's been a long, hard deal because they've had to maintain that extra version of OIA because we didn't have anything for them. And I think this is a great opportunity. We participated for probably a good 6 or 7 months. As product has built this out, we've been able to review it. So I think that's, a good path forward. We are starting to see, some RFPs come in where customers are asking us to do containers. They want to look at OUD. So that's kind of where we're at with the earlier adopters of the programs that are coming out.
Sure, Don. Thank you. Thank you on that. Let's move along. I've asked this question of customers in a very pointed way of as they are looking to plan on their modernization and what to do next. How often does the upgrade versus replace come up? But there are other aspects to it as well, that you do tend to have a mix of several infrastructure components that tend to be the best of breed kind, and there are continuation of the best of breed thought versus the convergence of all of that into a more homogeneous solution. And then, of course, the deployment model of on-premise versus cloud versus hybrid, and more specifics around it of being containerized or not containerized. And then the aspect of on-site versus remote implementations, especially to support an event such as an upgrade, has been there for the longest time. But I believe in the last 18 months, with the situation of the pandemic, this elevated itself to a different level. So looking at those perspectives, I thought this will be a well-served question for our CAB members. Let me take this question to Kishan in that case.
Hello, everyone. With respect to upgrade, what we are commonly saying is, first there is a debate whether we do a replace or an upgrade, and then once you choose to once you do the analysis, what the time and effort it takes to replace and what is the new feature set that you are going to get, all the more it makes sense to go with upgrade. And now with the one-hop upgrade that we came with, from directly going from 11GR to PS3 to 12C PS4, that further helps the clients to make a decision, to make a very educated decision to move forward to the 12C PS4 upgrade. Now there is a direct path from 11GR to PS3. From access management perspective, the most common trend that we are seeing in the field is customers are more inclined towards the SaaS product, where IDCS is playing and is going to continue to play a big role in terms of access management. There is a client that we have recently worked with who had hundreds of applications behind a web gate or web agent who had to be migrated. Some of them are SAML based and some of them are OIDC based or Open Connect. It was easy to migrate them to the SaaS access management, but that is where the access gateway comes into the picture, which helps with the legacy applications migration. For governance as well, we have been seeing a lot of customers request when there could be a product where governance can also be a SaaS-based applications. While right now there are not many firms that are near to will come with that product for big organizations, but I think that's one of the common trends that we are seeing coming from the customers. On-site versus remote implementations, in the last 18 months, majority of us have been working remote all over the world. And given that there is no impact to delivery of work for the customers, this might seem to be the new norm, where whether it's the upgrades or greenfield implementations. In terms of IAM, I think the remote model may be here to stay for a while.
That's an interesting comment, Kishan, because for some time earlier on last year, we were debating the topic of being a core infrastructure project. How comfortable would customers be in taking this on in a complete remote fashion? And I think increasingly what we saw during the course of the year, like you said, people just pushed the button on it and they were very successful. And like you said, this may end up becoming the new norm. And the so-called complexity gets redefined a bit. Trevor, anything from your side on this topic?
Sure, yeah. So in terms of the upgrade versus replace, we're seeing some other results with some of our customers. So we're seeing a lot more of the rebuild and shift rather than the in-place upgrades, and I think it's just because of the nature of some of the legacy sort of longer product versions that some customers are running. They might be well behind in a version, and so they're taking that opportunity to sort of shift their deployment, think about hardware, OS, what kind of deployment they want, maybe change their licensing, all of those types of things, and as well as revisiting their business processes and whatnot. So we're seeing a lot more of the of sort of start from scratch and do sort of a parallel upgrade and cut over to some of the newer stack. In terms of converge versus best of breed, I think we see a mix of here as well. So some customers like having all of their aspects and services from one vendor for unified user experience as well as ease of support, and that's very common. Sort of we see with more of the enterprise style of deployments. But we have other customers as well who want to get features from other products, whether they be missing or they feel they get some better performance or it meets their business requirements a lot better or easier without customization. They'll sort of take the best of breed approach, and the sort of drawbacks of that is not having unified support. And then if you move any of those components in or out or change them, there's some impact to sort of the overall end user experience. But we sort of address that with things like our identity orchestrator to sort of abstract that and keep the user experience unified. In terms of cloud versus on-premise versus hybrid, we're definitely seeing an uptake in cloud. I think we've had a number of years where people have been looking around at each other to see when the masses would start adopting cloud technology so they can start earning trust and then be able to justify taking their organization into the cloud. And I believe we're at that point, especially with the government entities who have actually legislated that they can sort of allow cloud technologies to be adopted in that sort of thing. And then just to, I think for Kishan's, to talk about the onsite versus remote implementation, I think we've always tried to operate with the whatever the customer is comfortable with, but we've always tried to do our implementations from a remote perspective and just travel when we need to do upfront work and through critical periods. I think for customers, it's a definite advantage where they can take a lot of those travel and expenses that they would have to budget for within a project and allocate those funds more to the functionality and implementation and getting more out of their spend. And of course, COVID has totally changed the game, and I think it made more organizations comfortable when they can see what can happen from a remote worker perspective.
Thanks, Trevor. And Kashif, anything to add, or thoughts are similar?
I think thoughts are similar. I would just add a couple of points that we are also seeing that when you talk about the trends, as buyers gets involved with the customer right from the assessment time all the way, then the implementation and then managed service if where needed. But the whole assessment part is where I'm seeing some trends, which probably I would like to share, is that our customers are looking at, of course, they are large organizations, so they are looking at the research organizations like Gartner and seeing what are the trends going on in the industry also, right, from the access perspective or governance perspective. And then what they are asking us to build is that, also some of the capabilities and show them in the kind of a scorecard or something like that to see where are these functionalities. Does Oracle Solutions meet those functionality? And it was really great to see that over the last few months, the scorecards we built or the the capability showcases we built for them to see what the trends are and how the Oracle Solutions are aligning with the trends. It actually met their needs, and so they decided to continue to remain with the solution and continue to upgrade or replace. When you say upgrade and replace, I know it's in the context of the product, but they continued to say that, we would like to continue to stay in this model. Now, of course, when they are staying in that model, then comes the question of, okay, how do we deploy it, whether we upgrade or what type of upgrade forms we take. We are seeing that customers are constantly upgrading. We are seeing that, more cloud adoption, as Trevor said. We are also seeing that, most of the implementations now, of course, over the last year have been remote implementations. But this whole trend is really aligning with their expectations as well. They are looking at industry. They are looking at what, for example, with the point I made earlier that, what is the Gartner asking them? For example, the solution should be centralized, right? The concept of security is still there, that I need to have a centralization and externalization of the security systems, and they are seeing how these systems are meeting it. So what we are seeing is that Oracle solutions continue to meet those requirements, whether you talk about the legacy applications or the greatest and latest OAuth and OpenID and Sample-Type. You can integrate all of them into one solution and have a centralized security model. So just an example of an access, right? And we are seeing that customers are, because they are getting that, they're continuing to upgrade and make further progress on these solutions. So that's kind of, I think rest of it was covered in what Kishan and Trevor said.
Wonderful, Kashif, and I appreciate you bringing to light that the trend lines for Oracle from a general score sheet standpoint as to how and when customers are evaluating things, we are on the right direction, and we look forward to taking on the leadership position in that regard. Oracle has enjoyed that for a long time, but we are here to win back the trust and the experience of our customers over here with the support of partners like you. So thank you again for that. Moving on to the next topic, again, in the context of the factory, we have talked about the usefulness of the factory, of course, and how it can help to speed up and de-risk your projects, etc. Could you talk to how you're being able to incorporate the resources, the tools, the methods that we are talking about into your own methodology, so that you can actually build around it and expand on your offerings to serve your customers better? And maybe let me take a look at it. Kishan, do you want to start with first?
Sure, Sandeep. Thank you. So, speaking of the upgrade factory resources, right? When we had 3 major clients go live in the last 6 months, and in all the cases, we worked through our Oracle rep. We got Puma engaged on time, the Oracle Puma team engaged on time, and for one of the complex implementations, the way we engaged with them was like we shared we did the discovery of the customer, we shared where the customer is, we build a plan for the customer, and we discussed this with Puma team, who provided their valuable inputs, whether it be certification of the target systems, whether it be the certification of the connectors, or what would be the best approach. Would it be in place upgrade or not of band upgrade? So that helped us de-risk the entire scope of the plan. And it's not just the Puma team, the people behind the Puma team, but also the documentation that was very helpful. The pre-upgrade utilities that came with as part of this upgrade factory, they were very helpful in preparing well for the actual upgrade. And additionally, because given the current pandemic situation, we had some resource issues, and where we reached out to OCS, Oracle Consulting, and we had an immediate need, and they have stood up to help us at a rapid pace.
Great, thank you, Kishan, on that. And may I take the question then to Saurabh from Capstone?
Personally, so with the upgrade factory resources, I would definitely say it's been a game changer. The reason I say that is it's not that we have not done upgrades in the past. Oracle has been bringing new releases. It's been going on for years. But one of the things that has happened now with all the support that the Oracle teams have put in the upgrade factory resources is making it de-risking the projects now, essentially. So for our customers, we are able to reduce the risk when you're doing an upgrade, and we are able to do it in a rapid and deterministic manner, right? Now, and I can give you specific examples. In the last 1 year, we have done maybe 10, 15 odd upgrades, somewhere in that range. And if you are doing in-place upgrade, it's really simple, to the point that, and we have spoken of this example with one of our customers who was in the cab earlier yesterday, where 70,000 employees, 12 weeks to do an in-place upgrade for them, for their whole governance stack, right? And there is not much that you have to do as an implementation partner, because when you do the in-place upgrade, even the data migration is handled by itself, right? But even when you look at complex cases, and I can talk of a customer which has like 50,000 employees, they are doing a parallel upgrade, which is going to be a 6 to 8 months project. And one of the reasons for parallel upgrade is outside of the product complexity, it's got to do with they're trying to do process optimization, because an upgrade is also an opportunity for them to do things better, to optimize their processes. And even here, although it's an 8 months project, when you look at the place where we are moving the configurations, we're moving the workflows, it's essentially only taken us 2 to 3 weeks to move it from one environment to another. And all of that has to do with all the effort that has been put in documentation, into the upgrade factory resources. And the last point I want to bring out, Sandeep, is also the run and maintain, right? Because once you are on PS3 or PS4, 12C, there are always these security patches or bundle patches that come up that need to be applied. Now, what used to happen earlier was in a run and maintain, it used to take our team at least 3 to 4 days to put a patch in. And you would do patching at the WebLogic layer, at the OIM layer, at the SOA layer. Now it takes us 30 minutes to run a patch. And there is one master patch that you run that takes care of all of these multiple components in itself. It could internally run 10, 12 patches for you as a customer. So not only have we simplified the way we are upgrading our customers, we've also simplified how we run and maintain them in the long run. So it's been a great help.
Glad to hear, Saurabh, and thank you for sharing that. And the patch comment that you made towards the end, it came up in the context of the enhancements as well. We are really excited with that capability and really simplifying the experience from that standpoint. So thank you again, Saurabh. Kashif, in fact, I'd probably ask Trevor to comment on this question as well from your standpoint.
Sure, I think Saurabh had covered most of the key points. I think some of the additional benefits too is that the upgrade factory, I think, has been a great testament to sort of the product direction that Oracle has and the commitment to the stack. It's been also, it serves as a great demo for customers to sort of understand the process of the upgrade and to basically have some faith in the process, as well as having some real example of how functionality maps and is translated from the previous version to the new stack.
Sure. Thank you. And Don, anything to add?
One of the areas, and I haven't heard anybody kind of comment on this, is that we found that the EDG that's been created is more effective. Now we don't have to document all of the processes for the customer to show them what the steps they need to take. When you're moving a customer, it's not necessarily an upgrade, but when you're doing a migration, setting up that environment and using the EDG, it gives them all the documentation that they need so that we're not having to document every one of these process steps anymore, because we're just following the EDG. So it simplifies the solution and it gives the customer the ability to see exactly every step that needs to be taken. And it's more detailed and it's more prescriptive, so that it speeds up that process. When you're trying to get those integrations of the products together, it makes it much easier to do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Don. And now we are headed to our last question before we look at the questions on the chat panel. So this is a two-part question for all of you. In one way or the other, you have commented on the last 12 months. But if we have to ask each of you to just comment on, and I'll say that Don is excluded from it because he doesn't have a choice. But for the rest of you, if you could comment on what's that notable change that you have seen in your relationship with Oracle in the last 12 months that has helped you serve your customers better. And if you may just add to it as to what would you like to see change in the upcoming 12 months, that one thing that's most important to you along the same lines for you to be able to serve your customers better. Kashif, why don't you start?
Sure. So Sandeep, I think I want to start with, I have my remembrance of last CAB in the last year. And Eleanor came in and talked about the vision and the investment and the growth which you all are committing to at that time. And we are standing here, and I would just like to start by saying that, I see the realization of that, right? And so I think that is really encouraging, and we see a lot of advancements in so many different areas all the partners have talked about it. Specifically in the context of being the partner to the Oracle, what I would say is all the enablement which you, your team, and the others, the whole Oracle security group has offered to us, has created in my, if I just summarize it, a kind of a trampoline to then on which we can jump and serve our customers much better. So I think this relationship has been a great instrument for us to continue. And this is also I have noticed it over the whole year, is that this is a very two-way model where not only that, we are learning from Oracle, from the products and the offerings which are coming in, but a lot of our feedback is going back into the product. And I think that is really, really encouraging. And I think that has streamlined the whole process. One thing which I would like to maybe a recommendation or suggestion, and I think everybody is working towards, is that when we were seeing the adoption of cloud in the few years back, we knew that Oracle on-premise solutions were really strong products, and Oracle started to show that shift toward clouds also. And I think now we are at the point where several of our customers still would like to continue on the on-premise model, and they are not ready for the cloud, and they are maybe a little bit thinking through it, that how to adopt the cloud technologies. So the new offerings which are coming in, and they are in line, the containers and the microservices. But as we get more far out with these solutions, I think if we can have solutions which can easily be ported, and whenever we are coming up with new services, new functionalities, new features, if we can easily port them back to the cloud or offer the capabilities where we do offer them right from buyers, we have technologies and tools where we can take their current systems, whether it's access or governance, and migrate them into the cloud, whether it's an infrastructure or taking it as a native cloud of services. While we have those tools, but if those are built into the solutions, I think that will really go a long way. And that's kind of what I think will create a game-changing approach towards the future. So that's kind of how I will summarize. But thank you again for all the team for all the support throughout the year and throughout the efforts which we are going through.
Thank you, Kashif, and again, thank you to Bias for being such a great partner. And I like your analogy of the trampoline from an excitement standpoint. But I do want to clarify before we start getting orders for trampolines. Oracle does not sell trampolines. We certainly get you the products that makes you feel like you are on one. So we are certainly happy to take the order for those identity products that make you feel like you're on a trampoline. Why don't I take the next question or the question to Saurabh next?
Sure, Sandeep. Thanks for the clarification on the trampoline. I think there are two words that would sum it up in terms of the notable change in the relationship. One is how proactive Oracle has been, working with us, working with the customers over the last 12 months. And this goes for both the product teams and the support organization. A lot of customers have had their grouses with support and how things have taken time, but with the Puma teams coming in, it's been a huge advantage. And there is so much pre-planning that now goes before we work on an upgrade with the Oracle team together. We look at the certification matrix, we look at the versions, we get everything checked out. There are connectors that are getting deprecated into LC. All of that is brought out up front. So the proactive approach is a huge plus. That's one thing. And the second thing is the aggressiveness with which new features and microservices-based approach is being taken. The advantage of that is something that we are yet to see, but I'm very optimistic. I think a lot of new features are coming in, microservices-based approach is being taken. So the aggressiveness with which that is being built and will be rolled out as we go through is going to be huge. So those are the two key areas, if you ask me. And I also want to share an example here in terms of how proactive things have been. Now, it's very typical for all product vendors to say, if there is any customization that you have done, then you are kind of on your own in terms of if it breaks, now you have to figure out, fix it, right? I've had multiple examples working with the Puma team where customers have customized the workflows or built written some custom Java codes, and we have jar files that we need to review now. And I have the Puma team sitting with my engineers helping us out in this process and trying to figure out how can we best serve the customer. So that's been a huge change in the approach that we have had, which we are very thankful for. And in terms of what could be changed in the next 12 months, honestly, there's nothing that I would like to see change. The only change I would like to see is for things to continue the way they are. So let's not change anything. Let's make sure we are equally proactive, and let's make sure that we roll out more features, functionality for our customers, because getting the upgrade is just the start of the journey. It puts the customer on a secure platform, but there's a lot more that the customers can achieve with the product set that we need to enable for them. So yeah, I'd like to end it there, Sandeep. Thanks.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you again, and thank you to you and Capstone. And we like your long list of to-dos for the next 12 months of it being don't change anything. So that makes it nice and simple for us. Trevor, if you want to go next.
Sure. I'm going to echo the same similar sentiments. I think one of the biggest improvements has been the communicated roadmap and commitment to the product. I think if you talk to our customers 12 months ago, a lot of them wondered, what Oracle's investment is behind the platform, that the direction wasn't necessarily clear. There was a lot of fear that, customers would have to adopt a cloud-only approach and not have an on-premises option available to them anymore. So I think that's what we're seeing for this cab, and the amount of work and headway that's been gained, I think, is a good testament to the efforts that your team has put in to not only sort of make that clear and get some great enhancements in the product direction, but also getting that message out to the ecosystem. And then certainly the regular cadences that we've been having from a partner perspective, and actually seeking customer feedback from partners and customers and taking that into consideration, sort of in a more iterative approach and into product design and whatnot, has been fantastic as well. So similar thing for the next 12 months. I think we're just excited to see more of the automation features come forward. Things like having the upgrade factory, be able to migrate to containers right away, and those types of things, just to continue on that path. And like had been mentioned already, just the commitment to that cloud versus on-prem versus hybrid approach, and just making sure that approach doesn't change, because I think that's going to be important for customers, knowing that they have all those options for some time to come.
Thank you again, Trevor, and to the entire Simio team. We'll certainly hold each other's feet to the fire over here to keep up to the commitment. And let's see who gets burned first, but let's keep that healthy challenge going. Let's round this up with Accenture and Kishan.
Thanks, Sandeep. I concur with what Saurabh mentioned. Even in my case, between my several Oracle clients, I feel like I'm spending more time with the Oracle Puma team rather than spending time with my own team at Accenture. So whenever there is a need, whether it be certification or getting is this the right approach kind of a solution, the Oracle Puma team has been very helpful. And in the past 18 months or more, we have seen Oracle product team also building stronger relationship, not just with Accenture, but also with a lot of other clients out there. And I will also give the same example that Saurabh mentioned, wherein we had a lot of customizations for a customer. And when you move from one upgrade to the another upgrade, some or most of them would break. Puma team did not give up. They their engineers in IDC sat with my team and solved these problems for whatever it took. And that was very helpful. Over next 12 months, I think we are in a very good path. Let's continue that. But one suggestion I would have is the new microservices that Oracle added, Oracle Role Identity Intelligence, that has a very good potential. That's a very common ask that we are seeing in the ground. I think that coupled with, since it is an extension of OIG, I think that should be very aggressively taken to the customer base.
Thank you again. I know we are over time over here, but I felt that it was a very healthy discussion. Where we did see some of the questions, but they have also been answered. So I think we can save a little bit of time from that standpoint. So let us start wrapping this up. firstly, by once again thanking all the panelists for the time and insights. It was really fun hosting you as posing the questions to you. And in terms of you continuing to learn more about the modernization paths, journeys that you can take on, as well as how you could leverage the approaches that were talked over here, you please continue referring to the links mentioned over here. They'll be available to you as you get the slides. Several of them have been posted during the course of the last 3 days in the chat. And importantly, from each of the partners that are supporting the North America region, you'll see the links over here. You can certainly navigate on their site. But if any of you would like to connect with the panelists that are mentioned over here, please drop in a note, and we'll be very happy to get you connected directly with them. And on that wonderful note, thank you again for a bit of the overrun in the session, but hopefully it was worth your time. I hope you found the information helpful. Before I conclude today, I want to remind you to tune in to Oracle IAM Insights regularly to learn what's new and exciting in Oracle's IAM portfolio, get tips to run your Oracle IAM infrastructure better, and to listen to your peers' experiences with Oracle's IAM solutions. Thank you again for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you at the next one soon.